been in Iona more or less all my life. I was born on the mainland, but I've been here more or less all my life. My father belonged to Iona.
Right.
And he was in the Merchant Navy during the Second World War, and he met my mother when he was sailing in and out of Greenock, and they got married, and then when he was released from the pool, they came back to I fished for a long time, and now I've been, for the last quarter of a century or so, I've been taking folk out to see Fingal's Cave on Stafford, for Mendelssohn's music, and this time of year for the puffins. Everybody's definition of weather is different, and we sail most of the time.
Yeah.
Even today, somebody will complain it's too windy. I think the island sorts people out, but anyone that says it's a dream come true, then they'll be in the next ferry out, because that's not reality. I think wherever you stay in the world, then it's home, and that's the first thing. But Iona's unique, isn't it? That's how you keep coming back, never mind anything else.
Aye, yeah.
It's something special, but it's home. That's the important thing.
I've been here for 40 years. I came with my partner and now wife to live here. Fiona had the associations with the islands for 50 plus years. The island changed hands from the Duke of Argyll to the National Trust in 1980 or so. This property came up for sale as one of the two available, and I approached the National Trust to buy it. My training is in art, from art school, but not in pottery. I'm not a trained potter. And it gets fired up to 1260 centigrade, cone 910 for about 9 hours, and then it's 2 days for cooling down, and then the surprise is when you open it to see if it works. As for the colours, at that stage, very different. I'll put this in as an example. I mean, it's a very different sort of community when I first arrived. It was the red boats that were on. It was a sort of small open craft. There was no cars come over at that time. Yeah, this was a big venture sort of for me, a big leap of faith. Well, there's obviously various aspects, and it's not always a day like this. It's just the space and the freedom of movement, lack of need for security, sort of friendly community. It's a different community now than it was when I first. There was a lot of older residents, and I felt that when I came, it was the end of a sort of an era, because the village, for instance, was all occupied by older residents, and that was a very different sort of place to what it is now.
I mean, look at that ocean. It's like the Greek islands, isn't it? We could pretend.
Well.
We don't have to pretend.
And how did you come to be on Iona?
By accident, really. My mother was watching a gardening program, and they were on a little island called Egg, and I'd never heard of it. So I said, well, I'll make the map really large so that we can find where this island is. So we found Egg, and then I saw Iona, and I just clicked on it. And I saw that it had an abbey, and I love abbeys. And I go for retreats at a monastery in Australia. And I thought, how come I didn't ever know about this abbey? So anyway, that's how I came to be here. I applied to be a volunteer, came for 10 weeks, and I'm still here a year later. I love the big skies. I love being able to watch the sunrise every morning. I love the space. I just love the island. I think my great-grandfather was from Arran, so I think I've got Scottish blood somewhere there still, because it just feels like home. What do I find challenging? Do you want true honesty?
Let's start with honesty.
Honesty. I really hate it in shared accommodation when people leave their dirty dishes on the sink.
Yep.
That's the most challenging thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Oh no, I can't think of anything else.
Oh, right.
No,
Okay.
quite seriously.
Yeah.
That is the thorn in my side. Dirty dishes.
Now, did you stay through the winter?
I did. It wasn't that bad. Because see, we're affected by the Gulf Stream, so I think it's quite a mild climate here.
And what happens community-wise in the winter?
Well, what happens is the other community, the people that live on the island, we all get together and there's a lot of socialising, and you meet people and you do things with the island people because they're all busy in the summer. So we had lots of meetings, book clubs, dinners, all sorts of things. So I got to know the local people and it was wonderful. I really love the winter.
My name's Nikita.
And how did you come to be on Iona?
One of my previous flatmates had lived and worked on Camas.
Right. What's good about being here?
The people.
And what's a bit more difficult?
The people.
I was watching Songs of Praise, as you do, one January evening in 1988, and I'd never heard of Iona up till then, even though I went to St Aidan's Church. And there was just something about the interviews and the island. They interviewed the school teacher, various farmers, and I just remember thinking, I've got to go there. I was a member of a church in York where I was living at the time, but there was just something so real. It's like Christianity was part of everyday life, not just an hour on a Sunday. And I phoned directory inquiries and said, have you got this number for this place on Iona? And they just came up with the number, so I phoned. And they were doing inexpensive holidays back then if you stayed at the MacLeod Centre and helped with the work that they were doing to build the MacLeod Centre. So I got a cheap holiday. I painted the walls. I was the first person to wash the MacLeod Centre community room floor. As well as doing the work, they had John Bell and Graham Moore, Alison Adam, and various other people who were leading the week at the Abbey, and they were sent up to the MacLeod Centre to do a few sessions with us. So that was even more mind-blowing, and we ended up co-leading a service in the Abbey Church. And by the end of the week I thought, a week's not enough, I have to see if I can come and work here. And they were just in the process of inventing 3-year jobs. And I thought, well, anything can happen in 3 years, it's worth taking a risk. I can leave my house in York, bound to get it rented out. It's a university city. So I applied for the job of secretary to the island's wardens. Seeing it on the television in January to getting up here in November, that was it, my life changed completely.
Okay, so what's your name?
My name's Laura. I came through a friend who told me how wonderful it is. and yeah, then I just travelled here.
You're still friends with that?
Yes.
Good. Okay. What do you like about living here?
I like that I get to be me without hesitation.
And what's more difficult? What's challenging?
Meeting lots of people who don't necessarily share the same story or the same path. That can be really challenging, but in some ways that's also really amazing because you get to learn a lot from people who are different.
If I can get this cake in, then that would be great. Yeah, we're having a barbecue this evening. So I'm preparing so that I can get out and do something else.
Well, I came the first time in 1990, just after the wall had fallen from Eastern Germany. And I came to a week up at the MacLeod Centre and loved it so much that I had to come back again and again as a holidaymaker, I suppose. And then returned 1999 as a volunteer at the Abbey and never left. Continued working at the Abbey for a bit, worked in the hotels, married, had a child. I'm still here. I'm working for the Abbey again, which is great. So my main job is being the Abbey cook. I also am involved in a craft cooperative, so I'm self-employed as a artist, crafts worker. I weave and I do a bit of photography, and then I'm involved in committees, groups. You know, there's the Iona Village Hall Community Trust, and we're about to build a new village hall, school council, all little things which fill up your life in a lovely way. Yeah. I love the smallness of the space, the living in a small island community, being part of that small community. I grew up in a small village, and I think deep down probably that's what I always aimed for, to live somewhere where it's quieter. I mean, it can be very busy, as we all know, on Iona. The summer months are sometimes really crazy. Knowing people, knowing your neighbours well, you know, people look after each other. It's normal life. It's not the dream life. It's not paradise. Sometimes people might say, "Oh, you're living an amazing kind of life. It all must be, you know, like paradise," and it's not. One of the most challenging things is visiting your friends and family. I mean, I'm from Germany originally, so family's far away anyway. But even, you know, going and visiting my husband's family on the Scottish mainland, it's not just a kind of a visit overnight. It will be at least a weekend away. Ferry connections sometimes don't work out, so you just have to be organised. But you get used to that. I love the winter. It's that beautiful balance between a very busy summer, you know, where the island becomes a very cosmopolitan place with lots of people coming from all over the world, and the winter when it's dark and we all kind of cozy up in our houses and do more things for ourselves, and maybe, you know, more things with each other, as in the island community, kind of invite each other. And the winters are just as good as the summers, just different. Yeah.
I've been coming to this island. First came with my wife 43 years ago, and it made an impression then. But about 15 years ago, we brought a group from our church, and since then we've brought another 7 groups, and it's been so influential on lives of various people that we have to come. I volunteered to come back to help in the renovation. Oh, it's a wonderful place to come. I love the open air, the open spaces, and the shoreline across the sound is very beautiful. Yeah. And so is the whole of the island. You can go from north to south, and if you go to the south end, you get half of that is away from any houses and virtually any people. And I love it.
the peace, the quiet, being able to find myself and meet people and get on with people. Finding a deeper faith.
I came to the youth camps first in the 1960s. I didn't think I would enjoy them and enjoyed them very much, and then came back. So I came to the youth camps and then I started working for the community. This meant that I was here over a winter and met a lot of the island people. So we've come back now and our friendships go back right to the 60s to the people that live here, and that's wonderful and we love it.
The winter is a very significant time.
It's a good time socially because a lot of things happen in the evenings. And people ask me, what do you do on the long, dark, cold evenings? I say the same as anybody else on the mainland. What do they do? It is mixed. I think challenges are things like when the ferry doesn't come, even if I don't want the ferry, I feel anxious. It's the weather. The weather can be challenging. But if you've got the clothes for it and you're not fussed about the ferry, it's fine.
So Heinz, what are you doing here this year and why?
Hi, I'm Heinz. I'm a member of the Iona community and I'm working this year with and for the Iona community as Iona Centre Manager. I've been here for about a month, and as we don't have any resident visitors this year, we are going to offer simple hospitality in the refectory for people, but we're also hoping to engage with people. We would like to focus on some aspects of their lives, giving them the opportunity to be here as pilgrims and to ask important questions for their own lives. We would like to also engage them with aspects of the work of the community regarding justice and peace, the rebuilding of community, and also the renewal of worship and the importance of Christian faith.
And what's it like having all the builders around?
Well, that's a daily challenge really. We've been having lots of problems. We've been without electricity for quite a while, but in some way that adds to the beauty of life, and we are hoping still to be welcoming to people in the Abbey and in our buildings.
I'm the minister of the parish church, linked with two churches over the way. Well, I've been on Iona many times as a holiday maker or a tourist or a pilgrim, whatever you like, but a couple of years ago I had been working in the borders and my time there was obviously coming to an end, and I felt that I wanted a bit of a sabbatical, and had friends on Iona, my neighbours and others as well, actually came to stay with them for a few days, and that led me to understand that this cottage was free, and I contacted the landlady, and here I came in March 2016.
Oh, that's lovely.
But I attend lots of other things, particularly in the winter when things are a bit quieter on the island. I'm part of the ladies group and the book club and all sorts of things, which is very rewarding. That's very good. I love being close to the sea, I love the space, I love the quietness of it. I love the whole religious life, which is very rewarding. It's very exacting in a way. It sort of keeps me up to the mark in a way that I really appreciate. And you meet such a variety of people from all over the place, and that's really, really stimulating. I suppose transport can be challenging because in the winter there we had some difficulty with the ferries over a period, and we're never quite sure whether they were going to run, and sometimes they didn't run. And I do 2 services on a Sunday morning and several times couldn't get back for my second service and that kind of thing. But it's sort of part of island life. It reminds you you're not wholly in charge of everything. You know, you've got to. There's something else that contributes to the shape of your life, which is really good.
The main thing is the community, the Iona community and the wider community. And even though everyone's very busy, there's always time to stop and share something, which is really nice.
Yeah, for me, it's a bit like a hand in a glove. It's very cosy, it's productive, friendly, very connected. There's so many things that make you feel like you fit in.
Sometimes when you get very busy at work, the way I see it is you see a lot of stones and you have to search a bit harder for the Iona marble, the real gem.
I think, well, I've come back, it's my second time, and the first time I was volunteering. So I think what was hard for me is finding reflective time when I was very busy. With 9 o'clock services in the morning and 9 p.m. at night. Our evenings finished late, which I loved, but it was finding that other time to explore the island, do the climbs, go to St. Columba Bay and have a wine with friends.
Okay, we'll start off with what's your name?
Joyce Watson. Well, like so many others, I came as a visitor in the 1970s, and then I found Bishop's House, the Episcopal Retreat House, and I used to stay there on holiday. In 1980 they needed a cook, so I came for the summer to be the cook at a retreat house, and I'm still here. What I love is being close to nature. I love the changing seasons. Obviously today is beautiful, but I'm quite like the other side, the storm, and of course, you know, the past, the history, and of course the spirituality of it.
What's it like in the winter?
It's wild, it's not fiercely cold, but stormy, horizontal rain. If we're going to get bad weather, it's usually horizontal rain and the ferry not running because the sea's too rough. I think the only disadvantage, and I've always said this, is you're a long way from friends and family. Even to see a friend in Oban, you can't just nip round for a cup of coffee, it's a whole day. And most of my family are in Yorkshire and beyond, so that's the only disadvantage. I enjoy people, so I don't get too scunnered with all the masses of visitors, and I enjoy meeting people from all over the world.
My name is Ewan Campbell. I'm an archaeologist from the University of Glasgow, director of archaeological excavations that are taking place here. There was a whole series of excavations in the 1950s and 60s which were never published, and we've been going over the results of those excavations and re-excavating some of the trenches to get new scientific dates. So we've been learning exciting new things about the very early monastery here. Iona is just a wonderful place. I mean, it's a real privilege to be here and be able to be here at the still times, you know, in the morning and the evening when it's a very different place, and you realise that's why the monks settled here originally. I think something very special just about this location and the vista over to Jura and Staffa and Mull and Ardnamurchan. The usual island challenges, cancelled ferries, constant wind, often rain.
So it's always like it is today, isn't it?
Oh yes, yeah. That's when we take the photographs.